Hi! Welcome to Making Potions part 14. No, wait, for you, 14! My name is Renee Gittins, and I'm going to lead you through parts of the development that I've done on the game Potions: A Curious Tale, which is now on Kickstarter, just saying. Now, I've done a lot of these blogs in the past, considering that this is the 14th one. And just starting on the last one, I've started making them specific to a topic instead of just saying what I've done recently in development. Now, a question that's come up a lot in the past, both when I've been doing these blogs and when I've been streaming, is where a lot of my scripts come from. And that's because I set up Potions: A Curious Tale to be very modular in my creation of spells and monsters and new items, and this allows me a lot of flexibility for creating new content. And since Potions: A Curious Tale is a content-based game, a story-based game, I'm happy that I spent my time doing that because it allows for the creation of new monsters, new abilities, new items really quickly. And I think that's really important if you're going to have an in-depth game. So I wanted to walk you through sort of how I did that, why I did that, and how it works for me, and also the improvements that I want to do in that way. So let's go into Unity here. Ta-da! Unity! And of course we can see here we have Luna, and Luna is our main character. She's actually called Girl in here. It's because I created her before she was ever named. And if we go on to her, we'll see that she has some scripts that are unique to her, such as this potion spawn script is unique to her. The item and drop script, this allows her to drop or pick up items that are around her. But a script that she has on her that's not unique to her is her stat script. Now, actually, every monster that you can interact with and that exists in the game has stats on them. And so let's take a look into the stats. If I flip this over. And if we look here in Visual Studio, we can see that there's actually a lot of different booleans and integers and infloats that the stats script holds. And these are all things that can be referred to by other scripts in regarding the behavior, whether something's alive or dying or things like that. So obviously, I probably don't care if Luna is aggressive or aggroed because it is unlikely that I'm going to take the main character's control away from the player and allow her to be aggressive. However, I still include these in here because even if she's not making use of them, it's really helpful to have these booleans for other creatures. But then I do have things like dead, frozen, paralyzed, and since my character animations are facing one direction, I have it if they were drawn in the opposite direction, so I know which way they're facing, so I know which way to flip them when they switch direction they're walking, and I have to flip their whole animation. I also have things in here for some sounds. And then I have all of these stat components that say their base resistance and then their current resistance, just to keep track of that if they have buffs or debuffs upon them. So, oh, and of course the ranges here. So this is really helpful to have on sorry. It's really helpful to have this kind of base script because now anytime I run into a creature or anytime I want to interact with a creature and I need to know its hit points per se, if I have the creature, I can just do game object being the creature dot get component stats. And it will always bring up stats, and I will always know what the stats on it are, which means I don't have to custom call things depending on what the creature is. Just all creatures have stats, and I can modify all their stats. And actually, these stats have a wonderful take damage function, which actually even controls them flashing red and forces the girl to dismount her broom if it's affecting her. So this is a really useful tool to have, but for my creatures in general, I have more than just that. Well, let's see. Boop. So if I pull out a monster here, let's see, what type of monster should we grab? Let's grab a monster prefab. Let's grab a slowing spider. So this is called a silkweaver, but in my scripts and stuff, it's called Slowing Spider. And as you can see, he has this stacks component of different ranges, doesn't have much base resistances, but He also has scripts such as a movement cast script, and a movement smooth script, a random patrol script, a monster behavior script, and a melee script. Now these are all scripts that I use to control the behavior of the spider. So these all work basically not quite like state machine, like they can kind of control the state of the creature, but not fully like state machines, but really close to that. So the monster attack cast script controls the creature's ability to cast whatever spell it is. And since I threw in the spiderweb spell, the creature casts a spiderweb. But this means if I want to have it cast a different thing, all I have to do is pull in a different spell prefab. And so that means if I wanted to make it like a venom spider instead, I just stick a venom pool in here, have a different sound for it, and bam, different spider, and just need to reskin it. So this makes creating new monsters that have any type of cast with any type of cooldown, any type of cast time, and even with multiple effects really quick. And this allows me to create creatures way faster than my artist can even draw them. So why I have a movement smooth and a random patrol script is these two scripts control different types of movement. The movement smooth is what the monster does when it's aggroed and is coming after you. It's a smooth movement towards you, while the random patrol movement instead, when it's not aggressive, it's not aggroed, instead of the monster just sitting there, it picks a random point, tries to walk to that point for a certain time, the time it would take it to get there, and then picks another random point and walks that direction. Since I since I count how long it's walking in that direction, that means if it picks a direction through a wall, I don't have to do a raycast to figure out it's through a wall. It'll just sort of walk into the wall for about half a second, and then be like, oh, I should have reached my point, and picks another point and walks off. I might want to do raycasting in the future, but for now, it's really effective, and it keeps my monsters patrolling around pretty well without having them need to do too many complicated calculations for figuring out where they're supposed to be wandering around to. The monster behavior script, on the other hand, actually just controls whether this thing is dead or not for the most part. Let's take a look at it. Flipping these things. So we have the death sound in here, the audio source, and then just things it needs to control, the health bar, the attack effect. And because if something dies, you want its attack effect to stop so it's not a corpse like swinging a leg or something. And all this does is it sets it up at the beginning, in the start, and then on update, just make sure that it's not dead. And if it is dead, it kills it, really. You might notice that there is a wake up thing on here, and that's because rigid bodies in Unity tend to go to sleep if they're not being used really quickly, which means that you can have things stop colliding with each other. So for the most part, I've been keeping everything awake by just constantly waking it up. I think there's an option to not make it sleep, but this was pretty easy to implement and it's not expensive. Also, the monster behavior script controls flipping back and forth. And this allows all of the other scripts that are controlling movement, whether it's getting knocked back, whether it's patrolling, whether it's moving aggressively, to control the flipping of it back and forth in the one function, so that function's not accidentally called by multiple scripts within themselves. So, and you know, this part of dying, the fading out. Let's go back. And of course, quite like the attack cast script, I also have a melee attack script. This melee attack script can work both by using an attack, let's see, what's it called? It's like an attack effect, and the attack effect is on the slowing spider and disabled but stored. And so the attack effect can it has its own collider, so the calculation for the attack can be based off the collider, or if the creature does not have an attack effect on it, then it defaults to using this attack range. So this allows me to put this script on a creature that doesn't necessarily have the attack animation and the attack effect in it yet, and still work basically to how I want it to. And having those safeguards allows you to avoid potential bugs that would happen if you misnamed attack effect or something like that. Now, certainly you want to make sure that you're using an attack effect if you have it on there, but not breaking the experience is also really important, especially when you're in quick development, as you often are when you're making games, especially indie games, and trying to show them constantly. So, that's just an example of how I'm using different scripts kind of modularly on my monsters, and it doesn't really stop there. So I know that I was pointing out that this monster has a spell that they're using, a spell that they're casting, a prefab. So if I go into my prefabs here for my potions, you'll see somewhat similar behavior to how the spells work. Let's see, potion prefabs. So let's look at my fire potions. So if we just pick a normal fire potion, this is the area of effect fire potion, we'll see that it has a potion behavior script, and then it has multiple effects within that. And the effects that it has is a fire AoE, obviously does fire AoE damage, has fire AoE look to it, and then it also has a burn area. And this burn area is another effect that goes with the potion, but just looks for burnable items that are tagged that they're burnable. I use tags here to tell if they're burnable or not. And whoops, if they are burnable, it nukes them. And this allows me to have fire that's not burnable, have burnable things that aren't fire, or well, to burn things without having to use this specific fire, and allows me to quickly create potions that have multiple effects without using the same visuals, and that can share part of the effects with each other. So, these are just two really good examples of how having kind of a modular setup with my scripts and how I use them on my creatures and my potions is really helpful for creating these items faster. On the other hand, I could have potentially written a separate script for each monster, cutting and pasting how I wanted it to move, how I wanted to attack, and I would have made my code horrendous to debug, because if it's messed up in one of them, it might be messed up in all. And it would be massive. I'd just be cutting and pasting a ton of things. So if you're trying to create monsters and you're trying to give them similar behaviors or even not similar behaviors, I'd really recommend trying to design things with this script behavior that you can use scripts multiple times. And I think it's really helpful, and it's helped me a ton, and hopefully it helps you. I was trying to keep this video very short. I know that I have a really bad habit of making these like 20+ minute videos, so this is under 15 right now, and I'm probably going to call it good there. So hopefully that was really helpful. And if you have any other questions about Unity or how I'm making things, or just general advice on game development stuff, leave a comment below, and let me know. And please also check out Potions: A Curious Tale on Kickstarter. We only have 6 days left, so your support would mean the world to me. And even if you don't have the money to back, just share it on social media. Anything really helps. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope I gave you some helpful and useful information, and that you have a better idea of how to make your own games. And I'll catch you next time.